Singapore has made it clear it wants to ease border controls, it wants to open up, it is important for the economy, while at the same time trying to put a lid on the virus transmission. How do you balance the two? Do you see tensions there?
You see, if you ask me that question back in March, I think it's a very stark trade-off. Either you close your borders or and suffer the economic consequences, or you open up and then you get infected with the virus and you still have economic consequences. So the trade-off was very stark at that time, partly because we don't know very much about the virus. We know it's very infectious. And very importantly, we don't have test facilities. And at that time, back in March, we could test 2,000 people, or we can administer 2,000 tests per day. And those were mostly devoted to hospitals and for acute cases. Today, the trade-off is still there, but it's not as stark as before. And the big difference is, number one, we have kept the epidemic under control. If we have not, there's nothing to talk about. So we kept it under control. Yesterday, for a long time, we have 0 cases, community, as well as the foreign workers dorm, 0. And that's a big milestone. So that's one. Secondly, is test is no longer such a big constraint anymore. We are doing maybe 30,000 tests a day and going up to 40,000 by November, and probably going up further after that. And I think a good proportion can be dedicated to airport usage, and the airport will set up its own dedicated test lab. And with tests, I think we can better strike a balance between travel as well as epidemic control.
Minister, let's get to aviation. What are the prospects for Singapore Airlines? Because when we speak to experts, they say the real pain has yet to come. When the support from the government finally runs dry, what are the prospects for the carrier?
It is now serving about 1.5% of its previous passenger volume. So it is a dire situation, and we don't really have a domestic market. So there's no domestic flights to fall back on. So what is critical is SIA's fate is very much related to Changi Airport's fate. And we have to gradually open up the borders, establish the key links that make us a hub. Yeah? The key destinations around the world, re-establish those linkages. It's not going to be commercially viable, but keep that links open, keep the flights going, have some passengers continue to travel. We can't wait around for a vaccine to happen, but when the vaccine becomes widely available, which may be a year and a half from now, at least the links are open, the passengers have been flying, we are keeping in touch with our customers and our partners, and I think our air hub can be revived again.
Let's talk about Changi Airport. What are the prospects? Would you have to rein in plans for Terminal 5? I mean, plans were huge. There was so much hope pinned on the Terminal 5. Would you have to perhaps relook, downsize perhaps those plans?
We have to. The assumptions when we went into Terminal 5 have totally changed. I think we will be blind not to relook at the entire situation. So what we have done is we have suspended development for the next 2 years. And even now, I would say I don't have a prediction or a crystal ball to say what will happen to Terminal 5 and what will happen to aviation, global aviation. I think it's too early, but this 2 years will give us time to assess the situation, and we'll have to decide what to do with Terminal 5 at the end of the period.
Realistically, when do you see the mass travel market finally going ahead?
When there's a vaccine, when the vaccine is widely available around the world, and people then gain confidence to travel again and visit other countries, then we'll have aviation back on its feet, almost fully on its feet again. How long would that take? I can't make a guess. I would say minimally a couple of years.